My title is it's an update to the title actually. The title is My Abyss. Oh, I'll look right. That's
Pardon me? What is it?
My Abyss. I'll look right.
My abyss?
Yeah. A abyss.
My abyss
Abyss?
outlook
Abyss.
right.
Yeah.
Abyss.
My abyss outlook?
Abyss.
Right.
Right.
Rise.
R-I-E.
Right. R-I-D.
Rise.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me.
Have you ridden a horse before? Or even a donkey? This story is about neither a horse nor a donkey, but their relatives. Can you guess what it is? It's about a mule ride in Grand Canyon. A mule has a horse for its mother, and has a donkey for a father. And it has been claimed that mules are more patient, sure-footed, and long-lived than horses. And it always also has been claimed that mules are faster, more intelligent, and less abstinent than donkeys. Over the phone, I booked my Abyss Outlook mule ride for my upcoming Grand Canyon trip. After I picked my date and time, the operator started to read a long list of do's and don'ts. She said, you know, there's a weight limit of 200 pounds and they will measure you. Will you check it? I said, okay. It was okay, right? For the shape of the animal. And then she kept going. You also need to have a string tied to your sunglasses on your neck so that your hands are free all the time. I said to myself, I don't have a string to my sunglasses. What can I do? I also start to get concerned. Why there are so many rules? Is this such a risky business? What have I signed myself up to? Should I cancel it? I didn't. I decided to move forward. The night before my ride, my husband, my daughter, and I, we drove from Las Vegas to Grand Canyon after dark. No familiar city lights. Everywhere I looked, it was pitch dark. It felt dangerous and uncertain. That's exactly how I feel about my coming mule ride for the next day. I managed to have a relatively good sleep overnight. Next day, it turned out to be a gorgeous sunny day. I checked in for my ride, and there the staff pointing to the scale said, "Would you please step on it?" I did. And it was such a satisfaction to see the needle stop long on a number, long before the 200 mark. But the staff wasn't even looking. What a disappointment. So I started walking towards the mule barn. There were about a dozen of them standing outside. Taking a closer look, I see the resemblance of horses and donkeys. The thick, long head, and the long ears, and the thin limb, and the small mane, those came from a donkey. And the shape of the body and the uniformity of coat, those come from a horse. There are total 6 riders and 3 mule guides for the trip. Before I know it, it was time to get on the mules and get on the trail. I was waiting anxiously to see which mule is going to be my partner for the day. Sure enough, she showed up. It was a dark brown donkey, a brown mule. It was a lady. Her name was Susie. One of the guides helped me to put my left feet on one end of the saddle, and with a big jump, I landed my right feet on the other end of the saddle. Susie took a step. My heart pounded. She took more steps. I held it tight on the saddle. And then, as you know it, the trail has some ups and downs. Can you guess, should you leaning forward or backwards when the mule is going uphill? Forward, backwards.
Forward.
That's right. That's the answer. Forward. It did take me a while to figure that out. But once I got figured out, it becomes easier on the back of Susie. As I get comfortable on the back, I notice there are a lot of gray hairs mixed with the dark brown hair on her back. I asked the guy, how old is she? She's almost 24. What? That sounds like a grandma. You bet. We keep going. At one point, I noticed the mule in front of me lift its tail. Can you guess what's happening next? Sure enough, I hear a relatively quiet sound. He was passing gas for a very long time, and it was sure smelling. After an hour and a half, we finally reached our destination. I got off Susie and followed the group for a very short walk. And sure enough, the abyss was right in front of me. It was a fantastic view. The return trip was a piece of cake, because by now I had already got to know Susie and understood the path conditions. It was actually quite enjoyable. At the end, I did have a very short thighs and feet. But I think the trip worth every bit of it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Christina, I enjoyed this speech, and I liked that you had so many personal stories and personal details in it. One of the things that I particularly liked was I thought your pacing was very good. In a way, it sort of, I felt, reflected the going into the Grand Canyon. It was sort of steady, and particularly when somebody has an accent, you have to be careful to speak slowly, because, especially at the beginning, because it's hard for people to sort of adjust their hearing to your speaking, and I think you did a great job of that. One thing I will say, though, is that you keep using the word abyss, but you're pronouncing it abyss, which is a nun, and that's very confusing. So I would suggest, if you can't pronounce abyss the way we normally hear it, switch to a chasm or some other word that would mean the same thing. I also really enjoyed your little joke about them weighing you and then not noticing that you were way under. I think you could even stress that by saying, I was so disappointed that I said, oh, I've gained a little weight, so they'd know I was usually even thinner. And then that would kind of force people to recognize that you are, in fact, that was pretty good. I also liked that you asked the audience a lot of questions. I would suggest that instead of saying, can you guess, you might say, what do you think? Because can you guess sort of sounds like a child's sort of thing. That would just be my suggestion. I enjoyed many of your jokes. When you started, you talked about donkey and a horse. You might start out by saying, do you know what the offspring of a donkey or a horse is called? That would get you into mules. I also think another title for this might be Risky Business. So, because it was risky. I really did enjoy this, and it was a lot of information, a lot of factual information hidden in there that I really thought was interesting. Thank you.
You are a great storyteller. I mean, your descriptive words, I said, she's gonna ride a mule and it's pitch black out there. I was really into the story. And if I'm supposed to lean forward or go backward, that was very good. The story was great. I didn't quite get the name of the story. Is it called Doesn't Bother Me, or was the title changed?
Actually, the title is My Abyss. My
Abyss.
abyss. Yeah, my abyss.
My what?
Outlook right. My abyss outlook right.
Oh, okay. Outlook. Okay.
But Shannon, it's just it could be risky business. That's probably easier because I think the title part is quite long.
Well, keep up your great work because your story was very good. I couldn't find anything that took away from your story. I thought it was very good. Good body language, eye contact.
Christina, maybe a title could be The Risky Ride with Susie. I love the questions in the beginning. I loved how you defined some of the characteristics of the mule. I thought that was very interesting for me. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. You did a wonderful job of holding emotion as you were talking. I saw a picture of what they were encouraging me to do, so you did that very, very well. I loved your body language throughout the whole speech, especially when you were talking about the ride. And I actually felt the nervousness, so you did a really good job of conveying that with the face and body language. Very, very well done. What I would encourage you to do more is describe more of the scenery. I would have loved to hear more detail about the trail. Then I can picture you and Susie on that trail. And then you talked about the fantastic view. I mean, just a fantastic view, and describe as eloquently as you can what you saw so that you can totally paint the picture of you riding and seeing this wonderful scenery. So just more work on describing the scenery. I think it'll take the speech a notch higher.
Christina, I like the word guess. Guess is a different word. Think about what do you think, or what do you believe, guess is okay. Humor, great humor all the way through. Internal dialogue, you use that. Think about just following the whole thing out. And I was thinking, what am I doing? What's going on here? What if I get in the thing? What if I fall into the canyon? Something like that. Whatever it is, whatever your concerns going through your mind. But keep it consistent. Once you say what I was thinking, stay all the way through. Nothing passive tense. No, I thought or imagined. Everything made sense actively all the way through. Story was known and heard. There was something missing from the story. We'll get to that just a little bit. Very relevant, very deliberate. It's been mentioned already. And you had the great pivot when you were speaking. You spoke to the audience, not that sort of back and forth thing you see so often. You did it to the audience. You never lost that audience connection. Thoughts for improvement, of course, you're going to have a title change. Get it to that guy. Get it to the Toastmaster. Make sure he knows what's going on. You had this strange thing where your right hand was kind of up like this. Someone's called it the Colonel Plank posture. It's like in Hogan's Heroes. His right hand up a lot like that too. The story was missing and the story was seen. I didn't know what she was. She was there. This guy was there. What did they look like? Just a little bit describing. Just a little bit visual and emotional. Something like a 22-year-old guy looked like he'd been doing this stuff forever. An old hand. Benefits. What are we really going to get out of it? What are we going to learn, discover, find out? Make it clearer to us so we know there's something we're really listening for, we're being I got a new understanding, maybe it'll help you, something like that. A little bit of place where you're narrating, you say, I'm surprised or I'm upset. Just show us, you don't have to tell us. And then finally, gestures. When you talk with the mule, here's a mule and its ears are here, and it's like, that's a small mule. That's a very small mule. Really big. So if you're talking about a mule, make it big. Here's the ears and here's the tail, so you get a real sense that it's a big creature.
I really liked the description about the mule. I want to be a mule. I wrote that down. They're very patient. Man, I want to get somebody that's sure-footed, long life, faster, intelligent. I want to be a mule. I didn't realize until you told me that that was probably what I should aspire to. As Tim mentioned, the speech title, there was a confusion in starting off, and we didn't know whether it's a this, a that. Doesn't bother me is a great title. Here's why. Because as you say it, I'm thinking, something's going to bother her. I wonder what it is. So right away, you intrigued me with that. And here's where you might want to put it in. When that thing in front of you raised this tail, you could look at the audience and say, doesn't bother me. And that's where the connection is. And it becomes kind of funny because we're thinking, where does it happen? And then finally we get it, and then we think it's very funny.
Christina's speech is from this manual. It's a storytelling advanced communication series. And the objective of the speech is to understand the techniques available to arouse emotion without an S. And the second, to become skilled in arousing emotions while telling a story. Christina? As the group mentioned, I enjoyed your speech. You are really a good storyteller. Your starting was really good. It's a question. I know I've heard Rocky before start with 1 or 2 or 3 questions. You started with 1, and I forgot what was the question, but nevertheless, you started with the questions right there, you attracted the audience, and then in the middle of the speech, you added more questions, which is also bringing the audience, keeping them with you. So that was very, very effective. I didn't know also there was some knowledge for me as a listener, not as an evaluator, to know something about a mule. I know what's a mule. I didn't know how they were created. So now I know. The mother is a donkey, the father is a horse. So that was one good piece of knowledge for me. I would have, since you gave us a lot of details about the mule, about the hair and the age, I would have just one piece of information would have been important to me is why they are created. Since you gave us too much, so I thought, well, is it fair for me to ask you? Yes, because you had some time. So why? Is it just an accident of nature? They just decided, or man decided to create them this way because the outcome is intelligent, more patient, and so on. Your delivery was very pleasant. You were animated. Really going up and down, and so your delivery was excellent. The pace of talk, I think Shannon mentioned it was good. Not in the beginning though, because we could not get the title of the speech, but after that, because those of us who have accent, like me and you, have to really talk slowly, and you did. We understood every word, so that was very good. I would take out the details about why the mule in the front lifted the tail. If you want to keep that detail, I would say you could just say the mule in front lifted the tail, and I expected something totally different. And then I would leave that to your imagination to know. I would not go through that disgusting detail. And I think Tim mentioned, and I also wrote that ride, I have heard it from somebody else, that ride is scary. That's one thing that I would have never, I went to the Grand Canyon, I would never ride in a mule. It's scary, it's very adventurous. The mule, as this is the statement I had, knows every part of the trail. He knows when it's to go left, when it's to go right. The view, you neglected to tell us about how beautiful, how majestical it is. So I would certainly emphasize that. Other than that, it's an excellent